consuming as compared to what we were consuming maybe 10 years back, right? So the major reason why there is a change, because we are more into a kind of a world where technology has taken a lot of our concentration. We are, most of the population, and especially if I talk about females, we are working, right? So definitely we are approaching towards the convenient foods, something that is ready to be consumed. More of the processed foods, we are actually going away from our traditional diets, right? If you talk about any of the households, and if you talk about today's generation, like if I talk about you students, definitely most of the students or the younger generation is there. But if I talk about the micronutrient deficiency, like if I talk about anemia, if I talk about vitamin D deficiency, that's quite prevalent, right? So all those micronutrient deficiencies are something that is a cause of concern. And along with that, we are a population where we have a dual burden. We have a segment of community that are undernourished, especially children below 5 years of age. They have protein energy malnutrition is quite prevalent. No doubt the severe malnutrition is low, but still population is having a lot of undernutrition, and because of the dietary practices that we are following, now we are at a stage where majority of the population, especially the urban population, we are overnourished. So there is a great increase in the body weights. And if I talk about the increase in the body weight, it has a direct correlation with the degenerative diseases. We talk about heart disease, we talk about diabetes, right? Cardiovascular diseases. So all those things are on rise because we are a population who are having higher weight, and obesity has a direct connection with the degenerative diseases. So that is why we really need to concentrate on what we are consuming so that we are a productive kind of a population. Because if population is having all those diseases, definitely we can't be a productive population, right? Okay. So the very first guideline that we really need to look into for, so these are the guidelines that have been given by ICMR, and we really need to follow these guidelines so that we are able to go in for a healthy lifestyle, right? The very first guideline, that is eat variety of foods to ensure a balanced diet. So I hope everybody would agree to me that unless and until you don't have a variety in what you are consuming, so variety in the sense, if from a nutrition point of view, if I talk about foods, we have clubbed the foods according to food groups. So it is very important that all those food groups, if not consumed in a single meal, whole of the day's meal should be having those food groups into your meals. So if we are into a habit of consuming the processed foods, so definitely we will not be consuming all those food groups. You talk about cereals, you talk about pulses, right? Fruits and vegetables, milk and milk products. So those would not be consumed unless and until we are just concentrating on the processed food itself. Okay? So it is also, if I talk about pulses, again in pulses, we really need to look that there has to be a variety in the pulses that we are consuming. So someday you have one pulse, or the other day you are having another pulse. So it has to be a combination of the pulses that we are consuming, right? So there has to be a variety in the food, even variety in the fruits that we are consuming. Because when I talk about the fruits and vegetables, normally they are rich in which component? Vitamins and minerals, right? So the major portion of your antioxidants, the phytochemicals, you get it from fruits and vegetables. More color the vegetable, more is the anthocyanins. So anthocyanins are basically your antioxidants into your food, right? So more color you add into your plate, more of the nutrients you are going to get. So it's very important that you go into for locally grown and seasonal fruits, not the exotic fruits or the foreign fruits. Like kiwi is not local to our particular location, so that need not to be consumed. So what all is present during that particular season, because there is no pesticide residues on those, and something that is local to that particular thing, that needs to be consumed more, right? And if we can add colors to our particular plate, definitely we are going to add up to the nutrients. Because if I talk about the nutrients, we are always concentrating on macronutrients. Like we are talking about the energy, the protein, the carbohydrates. But in an Indian scenario, and I think everywhere in the world, we are facing the problem of hidden hunger. And when I talk about hidden hunger, they are the micronutrients. Okay? If I talk, recently we had done a research on vitamin D deficiency. It is very prevalent. The prevalence is as high as 70 to 90%. We don't go in for testing, but if you really go in for testing of vitamin D, majority of the population are having low vitamin D stores. No doubt it's a sunlight vitamin, but still we are not having that much of vitamin D because if you are vegetarian, you are not able to get vitamin D from the, because mushrooms are the only source of vegetarian source of vitamin. And we are not exposing ourselves to the sun. Even if we are going out, we are putting something, right? So our dietary habits and our lifestyle patterns are such that we are into a kind of a situation where we are, most of the population is having micronutrient deficiency, right? So that needs to be really looked on when you're talking about what kind of diet to be consumed, so that we don't have those deficiencies. And definitely, we should not fall in a category where we are having overweight, because that is the cause of disease. So variety is very important. So you talk about all these food groups that needs to be included in your diet, right? And definitely when I talk about the diversified diets, so diversification of diet is very important. You talk about millets nowadays. If I talk about our traditional diets, millets were a very integral part of our diet, right? And now what we are doing, because the kind of diseases we are prone to, now we are actually moving to the our traditional habits. We are trying to incorporate those millets into our diet, so that we are trying to diversify our diet, right? So diversification not just in agriculture. In agriculture, there is a diversification where more emphasis is on horticulture, fruits and vegetables, more emphasis on the cultivation of millets, and traditionally also we are into the our traditional types also, right? So this diversification of the diet is very important when I talk about the first guideline to be followed. So So just the food groups they have been listed. So definitely everybody knows it's energy giving foods, bodybuilding and the protective foods. All these foods you really need to include into your diet so that it's a well balanced and diversified diet, right? And at different stages of life, your nutrient requirement it actually changes. So at a growing stage, definitely you would be needing more of the nutrients that would give you proteins and energy. So there are certain physiological states like pregnancy and lactation where more of the nutrients are required not just for the lady itself but for the fetus as well as for the baby that requires the feed, right? At an older stage, you need to concentrate on something that is having more of the protective foods, okay? Low in calories. So at different stages of life, you have different nutrient requirements that needs to be fulfilled through your diet. The second guideline is to ensure provision of extra food and healthcare to pregnant and lactating women. So definitely that is a guideline for the pregnant ladies that they really need to concentrate on. So as per the recommendations, there is an increase in protein, in energy, in all the micronutrients like calcium, vitamin A, iron. So all those nutrients, you really need to look into that those things are being provided to the person who is pregnant, right? So definitely the quantity as well as the quality of the food that needs to be managed when we are talking about a pregnant woman. So all these things they we really need to look upon when we are talking about the guidelines. Then the third guideline is promoting exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months and encouraging breastfeeding till 2 years or more if possible. So that is a guideline given by government that for the first 6 months of life exclusive breastfeeding should be given. So nothing, not even water needs to be given. So your breast milk is going to compensate all the nutrients. So, and in this case, we can't rule out the importance of cholesterol. So cholesterol, that is the first milk that is secreted. So that is basically the first immunization of the child. So that needs to be taken care of. And the diet of the lactating mother, again, that has to be increase in protein, increase in your calories, increase in your micronutrients. That really needs to be looked upon how those increased requirements are met in the diet. Okay? Then the fourth guideline is feed home-based semi-solid food to the infant after 6 months. So again, that is very, very important that after 6 months of age, the home-made food that is provided to the baby for the proper growth, right? I'll just give you a simple example. So definitely you can't rule out the importance of hygienic practices in provision of food. So that is important. So the list of various supplementary foods are there. This is important. Preparation of amylase rich food. Like we are giving a normal food to the baby, and then there are some practices that need to be incorporated. I'm not just talking about the supplementary food for the baby. So it could be any of the practices that we are adopting that really needs to be such that the nutrients in the particular food they are enhanced and they are not deteriorated by the method of cooking that we are applying to the food. The same goes for the amylase rich food. So what we are actually doing, we are germinating the wheat grains and then they are dried and the flour it is made and that could be incorporated in any of your food commodity, right? So the method that is opted for increasing the nutrient content of the food that really needs to be looked upon because खा तो वही रहे हैं, खा तो हम beat ही रहे हैं. The only thing is the method that we have opted is it has enhanced the nutrition of that particular food. So that is very, very important. At every age group, it is important that the method that we adopt for cooking, it has to be appropriate. I hope everybody knows, like if you are cooking food for at a very, very high temperature, there are some nutrients that are being lost at a high temperature, right? Even for frying, cooking at a very, very high degree, or cooking for a long duration of time. So that is why pressure cooker is preferred as compared to cooking in an open pan, right? So you really need to look upon what kind of practices we are adopting in the regular lifestyle so that we are able to preserve deterioration of the nutrients. Right? Then the guideline 5 is ensure adequate and appropriate diet for the children and adolescents, both in health and sickness. So definitely we really need to look into that the growing population are consuming a well-balanced, adequate diet so that the body requirements are also met. And in case of children, what it has been found that there is an extreme rise in childhood obesity. That was not initially because the COVID period has also put a pressure on children. The children are not able to go for the physical activities every time they are on the online classes. So definitely now if I talk about the childhood obesity, it's on a great rise. And because of that, most of the population are actually into high cholesterol. So you can't rule out the probability of these children falling into the degenerative diseases at a very early age, right? So because all your biochemical parameters are not up to the mark, you can have a child falling into those degenerative diseases at a very early stage. So what, as general population or as parents or as nutritionists, what we can just guide them, what we should do? During this COVID period, we are not able to send our children outside. So, as parents, what we should do? Physical activity चाहे वो घर के अंदर करें, and I hope everybody knows कि बच्चों को अगर चिप्स का रोज का एक पैकेट मिल जाए, so try to limit down the process. Try to make a habit कि we रोज शाम को एक फ्रूट खा रहे हैं. So as parents or as somebody who's close to children, so this is the only strategy that you can opt for, that least processed food should be consumed. बच्चों को बहुत आदत है कि I don't say कि don't indulge in these things occasionally. Okay, fine. Everybody, ये तो है नहीं कि मैं नहीं खाती. Everybody eats, but then you have to limit down. Like you have to put a barrier कि okay, once in a week, maybe twice in a week, not more than that. Okay? So it is very important that the children should be really inclined towards the traditional practices that were opted initially. Home cooked food, fruits and vegetables more included into your diet. So that could be a single remedy that could be there when we talk about reduction in the obesity, right? Then eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. So as said initially also, more color into your plate, more are the anthocyanins, more are the flavonoids, more are the polyphenols, and definitely that is going to add up to your nutrition. So try to add variety of the local fruits, seasonal fruits, vegetables. So that everything needs to be included in, because each fruit and vegetable are going to be different in terms of the nutrient composition. So you really need to look that you have the variety of those vegetables into your, and minimum cooking of the vegetables. Okay? This is if I talk about Punjab के अगर बात करें साग मक्की की रोटी, but the kind of saag we are consuming, है ना, 2-2 घंटे उसको कुक करते हैं. Everybody has a habit of that, है ना, तो उसमें रहता कुछ नहीं. Actually जो उसके nutrients है everything, but we are a population की सब्जियों में साग मक्की iron है उसमें, पर जो उसके बाकी nutrients थे, those nutrients that are heat liable, everything is being lost. Again, the method of cooking that we are opting for, that really needs to be looked at, and the combination of foods that you are using. So try to combine the foods, something rich in iron and something rich in vitamin C needs to be taken together so that there is more absorption of iron. Okay? So amla, like you can have an amla pickle, raw amla. Okay? If you are cutting a salad, you can just squeeze a lemon on it. So try to combine vitamin C and iron together so that what all you are eating is easily absorbed into your body and you are not into that micronutrient deficiency. Okay? So combination of foods are very important, and variety of these fruits and vegetables are very important. अपने बच्चों की बात करूं तो दे आर इन अ हैबिट ऑफ ईटिंग ओनली बनाना एंड एप्पल, कोई और फ्रूट बोलूंगा नहीं खाना, ठीक है ना। सो इट इज अप टू यू हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू। तो मैंने कल क्या किया, मैंने सारे फ्रूट्स इकट्ठे काट दिए बाउल में, उसके ऊपर चाट मसाला थोड़ा सा डाल दिया, चलो खाओ। So it is up to you how you are going to indulge your children or somebody who is close to you. How you are going to go in for that? Everything is being consumed in a single. ठीक है? Ensure moderate use of edible oils, vegetable fruits, and very less use of ghee, butter, and bunsputi. So when I talk about fat, I think this is something that is really maybe some industries or the marketing unit, they have said कि fat तो बहुत बुरा है, fat तो नहीं खाओ. Fat is not actually that bad how it is being projected. Yeah, basically the carbohydrates you are consuming and the portion sizes of the food that actually leads to the increase in the calorie intake. Fat, no doubt, is adding up to the calorie intake, but it is not as such a culprit of all those degenerative diseases as projected. So even if I talk about fats, it's very, very important that combination of those fats needs to be there in our diet. So if I talk about combination, so there has to be a saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated. So everything has to be in combination. And if I talk about the combination, so saturated to MUFA to PUFA, it has to be 1:1, 1.5 to 1. So more of the PUFA, it has to more of the MUFA, it has to be there in the diet so that we are able to. If I go to the village, they are in a habit of using mustard oil in each and every system. Mustard oil is extremely good in MUFA, and you have a substitute canola oil. Okay, na? So MUFA is very, very good for your heart and for your lipid profile. Saturated fat also is consumed in limited amount. That also needs to be consumed. You can go in for a different variety, like you cook your dal in saturated fat, ghee mein, okay? Your vegetable could be cooked in mustard oil. Okay? You can also use a vegetable oil on daily basis. So combination of these your fats that needs to be there in your diet. Right? And as a nutritionist also, I would say it is very, very important that these combinations you have to look into for, and especially if I talk about vegetable oil, it is a requirement that every 2 to 3 months try to change the vegetable oil that you consume. So you can go in for a groundnut oil, you can go in for a sunflower oil. So you have to have a combination of the vegetable oils that are being consumed on a daily basis. So maybe every 3 months you can change your vegetable oil. Okay? So this is how you are going to combine the different fats into your diet. Fine? I hope that is clear. And definitely when I talk about fats, so it is not just going to provide you with the calories, it's also going to provide you with the essential fatty acids. So they are very, very important. Palatability to hai here, but then essential fatty acids are also going to be provided by the fat itself. So there is no need to eliminate this component from your diet. The only thing is moderation in the consumption of fat and selection of a proper fat or oil into your diet is very good. And one thing more, on a regular basis, if we are using oil for frying, it is very, very important. Either you use it for like जैसे तड़का करते हैं, ठीक है ना, उसके लिए हम use कर सकते हैं. That fried oil can be used for that. Repetitive use of that same oil for frying, that gives rise to the trans fats, and they are very, very harmful. Right? So it is very important that that fried oil, either if it is used for a very, very long duration, you discard it, or that could be used in just sorting your onions and tomatoes for the vegetable. Right? So a few of the examples of MUFA, saturated fat, and PUFA. So how that needs to be included. Then avoid overeating to prevent overweight and obesity. Again, that is very, very important. Try to take up those calories that you could just burn out. If you really feel that you are extremely physically active, then you can go in for indulgent in a high calorie diet. Otherwise, if a kind of work scenario you have where you are into a desk kind of a job and there is no physical activity, try to limit down your calories and try to look into that you are including more fruits and vegetables into your diet, more fiber into your diet, so that you are able to maintain a healthy weight, right? So the imbalance in the energy intake, definitely that is going to land up into more of your weight gain. So how to manage your overweight and obesity? This is something that is important. One thing is very, very important for managing weight. I think it's a topic everybody would be interested in. One thing is like you need to really need to chew your food very, very slowly. If you're just gulping your food, definitely by the end of the day, you try to consume more of the required food that was. Binge eating definitely will lead to overweight. If you are in the habit of eating, just go ahead for eating. Look at the product content, just look at the labels of that particular food product. भाई labels पढ़ के देखना देखना salt कितना and because if I talk about hypertension, it's a kind of something that most of the population they don't know that they are hypertensive, and that is a slow killer, right? So it is very important we really need to look into for when we we are consuming our processed foods. And very interestingly, because most of the population we are into a we really don't know that how much hypertensive we are. COVS, they have gone in for reduction of sodium into their the soup mixes, because the companies are now into a kind of a strategy, and they have mentioned on the fact that they have reduced the sodium content in their the soup mixes. COVS के soup mixes आते हैं ना, they have reduced the sodium content because if you go in a village scenario, हमने पीछे medical camp लगाया था किसी गांव में, majority of the population were having high BP and लोगों को पता ही नहीं होता, सिर दुख रहा है, eyesight weak हो रही है, but they really don't know कि लोगों ने BP कभी check ही नहीं करवाया, ठीक है ना? And it is a kind of a silent kind of an attack that is actually you are on a bomb. So that is why when we are consuming processed foods very high, so that is why they are very appealing to our taste buds, because they are high in sodium, they are high in the fat content, they are very high in the sugar content. So the only thing how you can avoid, कैसे avoid करें? I'm a person who is too fond of food. But I could rarely मतलब मैं किसी ने मुझे सिखाया था तो बच्चों कहती हूँ कि आत्मा तृप्त होगी. But I really don't indulge into that. मैं घर पे लेके नहीं आती. क्योंकि अगर आ जाती है bottle, so I am the only one who is indulging to it that complete bowl. So the only way to avoid that particular thing is don't get exposed to that particular thing. Try not to consume it. Try not to have an access to that thing. Occasionally, okay, you can go in for that particular thing. But if you really feel, because of the Coke ki baat karu, it has lot of sugar content into that, and we really don't realize until. Even if I talk about ये जो आपके squash, they are very high. Even your fruit juices, हमें तो ऐसे लगता है कि वो packed juice पी रहे हैं. Wow, nothing. It's always good to have a whole food instead of consuming a processed food. It is very high in the sugar content. We don't even realize how much sugar is actually going into our bodies, right? So it is important that these nutrients we really look into, and mostly if I talk about the labeling of these particular products, mostly these are skipped by the companies because we have rules and regulations, but the implementation of those rules and regulations in an Indian scenario, it is not that stringent, right? So we really need to look into for what we are consuming, right? Ensure that use of safe and clean foods. I think COVID has really made us realize that how much important it is to this hygiene and sanitation and washing. शायद जो पहले करते नहीं थे अब थोड़ा सा शायद reduce कर दिया, but definitely if I do talk about last year, we were really conscious about this hygiene and sanitation, and that is must. That is very important, right? Adopt right pre-cooking practices and appropriate cooking methods. So as I think we have discussed that we really need to look into for how we are cooking our food, how kind of pre-preparation of that particular food is there, how we are actually, instead of eating a normal pulses, we are going in for maybe sprouting, fermentation. So what techniques we are actually adopting in the consumption of the same food, so that the nutrients are not deteriorated, rather they are enhanced. So our cooking methods are very important. Again, you are heating the particular vegetable again and again, definitely there is going to be losses in the nutrients, right? Cooking at a very high temperature, there is going to be loss. So minimum cooking, if something could be eaten raw, that is more encouraged instead of cooking. Okay? Even if cooking, so minimum cooking of that particular product, that is required for the retention of nutrients. So the method of cooking we are opting again. In case of method of cooking, it is important that you cut the vegetables, you wash the vegetables first, and then you cut them. Right? You are not throwing away the water in which your particular food was soaked in. You are using the same water. So there are different practices how you can go in for retaining the nutrients and that needs to be adopted at a regular. Then drinking plenty of water and take beverages in moderation. So again, we can't rule out the importance of water, even for weight loss. It is it's a kind of a detoxification that it does to your body, right? So all your toxins are being removed. It also like um, even if you are feeling hungry and you just drink 2 glasses of water, your hunger cramps they go away, right? So water is very important. So 8 glasses of water that are recommended, and if you could add something into your water like a lemon juice, um, uh, like your pudina could be added, ginger could be added, right? Salt, water, that is again. So all these are a kind of detoxification. Normally क्या होता है कि हमें ऐसा लगता है कि I am indulging in an exercise and at some point of time my weight is not reducing on scale. So there is a plateau in the weight reduction. So you can enhance it by adding all these detoxifying things into your body. So once those things are added, your liver, that is your majority of the toxins they are to the liver. So when they are washed away, definitely you can go in for reduction. Right? So these things they really need to be included. So definitely, if I do talk about drinking a fresh fruit juice and drinking a processed juice. So fresh fruit juice is better, and if you can eat a whole fruit instead of the juice, that is even better. Right? Minimize the use of processed foods that are rich in sugar, salt, and fats. So you really need to eliminate those white things out of your. Try to go in for moderation of the consumption of sugar, your salt, your processed cereals, you get white bread. So all those processed things are really. So जितना भी वो white होगा, definitely juice की processing उतनी होगी. So then you really need to reduce all those processed things out of your diet, right? In order to stay healthy. And definitely we have to stick to your traditional homemade foods. So instant foods, fast foods. In street foods, there is a lot of hygiene issues. So if you could control that, it is okay. Otherwise, preparing a same food at your home setup, that is recommended. Including micronutrient-rich foods into your diet to be active, and so definitely you get these micronutrients from your fruits and vegetables. So try to increase the consumption of fruits and vegetables. Every kind of fruit, every kind of vegetable that needs to be added. Even if I tell you, okay, you are in a habit of eating Maggi, you can load it with the vegetables of your choice. So this is how you can add up. Like if you are going out and ordering a pizza, you can go in for a pizza base that is made up of whole wheat. Now people are so health conscious. Even if you are making pizza at home, you can bring a base that is made out of whole wheat. हर एक जगह मिलता है, ठीक है? You can load it with your vegetables. So this is the way eating a pizza, but not really unhealthy for you. So you can go in for a healthy option of all those fast foods that are available. ठीक है ना? अगर आप bread की बात करोगे, you have multi-grain bread, everything is available because now people are ready to pay more for the health foods, right? So it is important that what you are choosing when you are going out, that is your own perception, but it is important that you really choose the healthier option instead of very processed food, maida based bread, maida based your pizza bases. So you can go in for a healthier option. And include functional foods for better health. That is very important. So when I talk about functional foods, they are the products whose nutritional value that actually enhances the particular component in that particular diet. Okay? And they have a property of either preventing a disease or managing that particular disease. And there is a very common saying that let food be thy medicine. If you are actually indulging into unhealthy eating, then you'll end up into eating medicines. But if you are really in a habit of picking and choosing the right options of the food, you are not actually being exposed to the medicines. Fine. So eat food as a medicine. So that somebody from nutrition background, from food and nutrition, we have a number of researches that are being conducted in the department on these functional foods, and then something that has been approved by university. I'm just going to discuss those particular researches. And beyond that, we have also gone in for commercialization of those technologies. So when I talk about commercialization, so it is something, the research that was conducted at the university level, we have given the technology to the farmers or the farm women. So in that case, we are trying to enhance the income of the farmers, right? So just a brief of what health foods that have been developed in the department. The first one is use of mulberry fruit to preservation for high antioxidant health foods. Shatut, I think everybody knows, है ना? And if you go by the village, रास्ते में कहीं भी जाते हैं, तो बड़े ये wild fruit हैं. जब इसकी plucking अगर नहीं करते तो you see it on the roadside. Something highly nutritious, something that is highly nutritious, still underutilized. So we have done a kind of a research on this. Because of its color, it is very, very high in anthocyanins. Right? So we have tried to use this local fruit. हम लोग तो बहुत खाते थे. पता नहीं तुम लोगों ने कभी खाया भी होगा कि नहीं खाया होगा. हाँ. ठीक है ना? So something that is highly nutritious, but I'm ignored. So we have tried to make a number of products out of it and analyze its nutritional composition. This is the technology that is approved by our research committee at the university level. Right? So a number of products they have been made, like leather, chutney. So all these drinks. Even we have dried this mulberry and to be consumed as such in a raw form. So all these products they have been made, analyzed, and then we have come up with a recommendation that this is something very, very healthy that needs to be included on daily basis. Then wheat grass. I hope everybody knows. Ab to ye like bahar bhi milta hai. You have a wheat grass, even powder that is available in the market. Wheat grass juice that is available. So the research it has been conducted in the department where we have gone in for the use of this wheat grass powder into the bakery products. We have made bread out of it, highly acceptable. So all these products they have been made nutritionally evaluated. So this is how we are trying to tell the general public that this is something, a functional food added to a normal bakery food. Bakery food, they are rich in your maida-based products. So if you are trying to add even 10% of these components into your bakery food, so definitely you are going to enhance the nutrients of that particular product. Then karonda, ये पता नहीं पता होगा कि नहीं. It's a kind of a shrub. बहुत खट्टा होता है इसका fruit. Again, it is an underutilized fruit, and we have tried to make a number of things out of it. Not just the pickle, so it was jam, chutney, crush. So all those things they were made, and how much was the nutrient retention after making all those products? We have seen to it. Various varieties they were used, and then we have come up with it. So when I talk about this karonda, it is basically rich in iron and vitamin C. So very, very good combination of all of these two nutrients. Beetroot. Velvet cake खाया होगा, red velvet cake सभी ने खाया होगा, है ना? बड़ा expensive होता है as compared to a normal pineapple cake, fine. So this beetroot, we have tried to make powder out of this beetroot, fine, and this is going to be used as a natural colorant. So instead of an artificial color that is put into your red velvet cake, you can put this beetroot powder into the various bakery products. These are the bakery products made out of the beetroot powder. Okay? So you are consuming those bakery products rich in this particular beetroot. It has a very, very important component, vitamins. Right? So it is an antioxidant. It's high in this particular product. So we have tried to compare the fresh and the powder of the beetroot. So when I talk about the powder of beetroot, they are rich in your total phenols, flavonoids, betalains, and the antioxidants, because it's the concentrated source of all these nutrients. So adding up this particular component into your bakery food not only enhances the color, because it's used as a natural color, but it is also enhancing the nutritional composition of that particular. Even your sunflower seeds. So you go to any of your stores. You have pumpkin seeds. You have brown sunflower seeds. So nuts are very important component when I talk about your essential fatty acids. So even during your snacking period, it is important that instead of indulging into all those processed foods, a handful of nuts is going to fulfill your hunger pangs and also going to give you the kind of nutrition that is required. Okay? So this sunflower, they were used in making whole your multigrain food, and then it was supplemented to the patient with a disturbed lipid profile. Vitamin D deficiency, as I have already discussed, there is a high prevalence of vitamin D among the population, and this technology we have come up with this vitamin D enriched mushroom powder. We have actually gone in for treating your mushrooms with the UV radiations, and we have seen that there was an increment in the vitamin D. 200-fold increase was there in the vitamin D content of mushroom. In those mushrooms, and they were processed into powder, and that powder could be used as such, or it could be used in the bakery products as well as the indigenous food products. So very high in the vitamin D content. A single spoon of this mushroom powder, if consumed, is going to fulfill your complete RDA for vitamin D. So it is as good as, so definitely it is not just going to provide you with vitamin D, it's also going to provide you with other nutrients like minerals, vitamins, protein. So all those nutrient requirements are going to be fulfilled by just a spoon of your mushroom powder, vitamin D enriched mushroom powder. Okay. And then the pumpkin seed flour. Even at, if I talk about the pumpkins at household level and at the industrial level, we don't use these seeds. So they are the agro waste. So we have come up with a technology where we are we had tried to process them into powder, and again that powder, it is being used in various bakery products as well as the indigenous food products. जैसे आपकी vegetable sauce बनती है, so those industries are using pumpkin, and they are throwing away your seeds. So we have procured the seeds from those companies and we have processed them into powder. So these are the technologies that have been commercialized. One is your beetroot powder, so it has been commercialized. Your pumpkin seed flour, that has been commercialized, and this vitamin D enriched mushroom powder, it has also been commercialized by the US. Right? So we are just doing our small bit to the community, that we are trying to go in for an awareness, where we can go in for how to choose the correct food, and also we are trying to help the farmers to enhance their. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. For that, we need Anji, but any questions? Definitely you can go in for some traditional spreads instead of all these. They are very high in your calories. Nothing is being labeled. If I talk about labeling, they are not mentioning what kind of preservatives are being added, what kind of additives are being added to those products. Occasionally, if you want those spreads, you can go ahead with those. But otherwise, if you can go in for your normal fruit and vegetables spreads made at the home at the your household level, they are the most preferred. एक हम इस पे भी काम कर रहे हैं, honey spread बना रहे हैं, honey along with your fruits, so that spread to other, so those things you really need to look into. Because it is a controlled environment. Naturally, they are high in the vitamin D content. If that UV treatment then definitely very cheap high or double high. Butter mushrooms, normal of a beach, the butter mushroom of a acceptability की चाबी है ये terms of the taste. दोनों use सकते हैं. उसी के साथ होगा. Unless until you are trying to meet your requirement, the natural in case of like logical state, demands are extremely high. So there is a lower. Otherwise, try to have the well-balanced diet that is going to be the life. Person is in a restriction, the requirement of a very good goal person. Can't beat those. इतना हाई हो गया था कि आफ्टर exposing them to heat, diminution need, even though your machine there was diminution in the vitamin D, but still it is too high to meet your requirement. Yeah, production is once it was used in the bakery products, bakery products were analyzed for all these components. The high part still the requirements for you. They were good enough to treat it.
After listening to that issue, that just they are trying to solve.
You should go back and even if you are okay, you are not overweight, it's very, very important to go into the activities. That is should be spare at least 1 hour for yourself. Other than the market, it is not just weight reduction, it is also for that feel good factor. Choose that because अच्छा लगता है कि चलो आज स्पेंड 1 hour on my चलो मैंने कुछ तो किया स्केयर में please don't go for weighing yourself every day when you are beginning an exercise. It must मैंने जब अभी एक्सरसाइज तो मेरा तो फ्री हो गया था अगले दिन ही मेरा फिर आई थॉट कि मैं ऑब्वियसली मैं देख रही because it barely hampers your enthusiasm of doing it that particular because that's so good. Similar way इसमें अल्कोहल होता है. Otherwise, if I talk about raw mushroom, उसमें 5 microgram of vitamin D है. हमने उसमें particular UV radiation का treat किया, particular time and particular distance. There was an increment of 200-fold increase. From 5 microgram has increased to 1200 microgram. Supplement की बात करेंगे, supplement of vitamin D provide you with only vitamin D, and it can be also toxic if taken for a long time. But also the nutrient coach is never going to be toxic because the vitamin D too, right? And then for a longer duration of time, it's going to manage your food. But otherwise, so obviously, Conventionally, or vitamins and minerals were enhanced, your protein was enhanced. These things are also enhanced. So because radiation was the exact technology because that is something pretty obvious for my side. So particularly UV light was used. Medicinal phosphates. We have done a number of experiments where the relation was seen. Overweight technology, I can't tell that. Overweight technology. हमने कहा was commercialization. Now, when we talk about commercialization of a technology, it's not exclusive. So any other entrepreneur interested in that particular can go and for gain that. They have to pay a fixed amount. Oh, my technology, more as such, crush, old fat otherwise बहुत सारी food वाले के बहुत सारी fats हैं सर हमारी भी सभी especially when it's a job to have or traditional habits का कुछ तो base था I really we need to speak to all of this अगर किसी बच्चे आजकल कुछ नहीं होता तो टीवी बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि क्या नोटेड में अपने सामने we are going to take ultimately हमें लगा भाषण की पब्लिसिटी गांव के लोगों को पता ही नहीं कि क्या चीजें हैं it is on bit of a bigger page. So to me, otherwise, instead of defined sugar, you are using stevia. Definitely, but that is not separate. That's not acceptable. Normal population. Otherwise,
That's why I'm telling you.
I'm very big thankful to man for enlightening us on particularly diet and nutrition. So I found certain things, maybe I think I should audience. I found certain things which very important. Last lecture also I found something that you should eat other food. Regarding already when I was saying that you eat delicious food, I know that something that comes very fast and you find that food that time you go and eat it. It gets dropped out of the ground and nobody is willing to keep it up. That is the one very common. Otherwise, somebody I think all of you must have seen. And second thing is a food what it is and those ideas are very good. My I'm not talking about the food. My then add vitamin C to your salad. Because I don't know if it's there, it will help it as option. Yeah, that was great. And we were thinking that what is the use of it? Because if you can change your body since you are to be entering into life, you will stand infected to family life, and you have to need to cook, or you will ask somebody to cook. You have to get an upgrade to your home, you have to change your vegetable ones. What I had was somebody just using after a while, you have to after a while, it's fine, so that is such a good one. Then you should not eat different oils. Typically, I am asked to eat samosa mostly, but it might be that it's a transplant, but it's fine. Then you have to eat, take up 8 glass of water. It's very tough. But you have to do it. And then whatever you do, there will be a plateau. You cannot drop your weight to that level. So don't feel much. There will be a time when the plateau will be still. Then next is pizza base. Pizza base is just in whole meat. I don't know something water in which aspect will be there. But we will try to go water this time. And pizza base should be of particularly in some ways I found different types of breads are there, options are there. Particularly for pizzas, I have not seen of the I have been yes,
That's the first thing I pizza base. But it's not tasty and okay.
the next which I found was very nice was vitamin deficiency, particularly for are getting into it. And then if we have some teaspoon of mushroom powder, which is very great. It will be a great help. Good time also you must have vitamin D in the session, and every week you have to take it in order to protect this. Then there was some pumpkin seed technology which I was very much interested in, and I wanted to ask was how to peel off that. Because the peeling is very difficult. Without opening it. But underneath, throw it away. I was wondering whether you are fantastic or a couple of it is so maybe you are not doing the process in a lot of things that you throw can be used. Yeah. So indirectly can be taking agro-waste. The second concept that I knew was why this heat has come to a big phase when a study was conducted, particularly because they thought of matter. Matter means why but what has been observed or I sugar research. We must have already one of the science study. We all know that sugar was the culprit of heart disease. But nowadays it is not there. From 70s they are integrating it. However, when we say 90 or 20, such as some that sugar is not we did the entire thing. Second thing was people observe, the rich people observe that the longevity of the process is what we have done. And that we are participating and we have changed the plan. Instead of going for PCR, this, so there are a type of thing. Plus, a lot of poor it's very much pleasure coming here.
Thank you, everyone.